Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March Compliance Corner. As with previous month's Compliance Corners, we'll be taking you through some new compliance topics, the hot new topics since the last month. And with each topic on all of the slides, you'll see that there are going to be items that are marked with an asterisk. That means that the item has corresponding materials that are included in links within the description below the video. So make sure to take a look for those items marked with an asterisk and find the link below for additional information. So with that, we'll get started with a summary of what we're going to cover here for March. And first, we have an update on the Wisconsin legislative session, which has since come to a close, and we'll give a summary of some of the bills that have been signed into law. Within that, we also have a separate discussion for the Department of Revenue, which released a rule regarding tax exemptions for certain commercial and ag purpose loans. I'm sure many of you are familiar with. And then we're going to wrap up with some FHA-related releases. FinCEN has an administrative ruling and the modified HMDA 2023 LAR data, which was just released this month. So for our first item, we do have our items from the Wisconsin legislative session, and the 2023-24 session has adjourned, and we have some updates for you in terms of what we have for new legislation, for new law. And so we've been talking about quite a few different bills this session, a few of them that we've brought up within our compliance corner. So some of these you're going to recognize, and now some of those bills have been signed into law. And so we have those listed out and the corresponding act within this slide of the PowerPoint. And you'll notice that there is corresponding links down below for each act. And so for purpose of this video, we're going to give a high-level summary, but make sure to keep an eye out for the April Compliance Journal, which will have a more detailed article regarding new law in Wisconsin, including these where we'll go into a deeper dive. But if you want to get a jump start on that, you've got the links to each act in the description below for those that we're going to cover. So the first one is the Trust Code Trailer Bill, and this is a trailer bill to the Uniform Trust Code, and it was worked on for 10 years as a joint effort between WBA and the State Bar. And this is all technical updates. So it's quite a long bill. If you go out and click on it and look at it, there's quite a bit in it, but it's all technical in nature and meant to be update to various aspects of the trust code that were identified by WBA and the bar. Then we have the Banking Modernization Bill. So this is our omnibus bill, and this is the bill that we look to work with the industry on to propose regulatory fixes and updates for the industry, which has now been signed into law. So a lot of those updates you'll find that we've been talking about in past videos are in there, but make sure to keep an eye out for that April Compliance Journal for this one to get all the details on what's included. Then we have two bills on notarial acts. We have one for remote notary for power of attorney and another one for estate planning. So the ability to create certain estate planning docs via remote notary. We also have elder financial abuse. And so what we were able to get past this session is the ability to create a list of trusted persons. So the account owner would provide the financial institution with this list, which you can then use to contact anyone on that list or not contact, depending on what's appropriate, should the bank suspect that there's elder financial abuse in a situation. We also have a new law expanding the crime of robbery of a bank to now include certain additional conduct. There's lots of tax changes, as you see in here. So there's revisions to certain tax provisions, including revisions to certain unclaimed property, technical changes to the tax exemption for commercial and ag purpose loans, and included as tax treatment for 529 accounts. So again, these new law changes will be covered in greater detail in the Compliance Journal and article, but otherwise there's links in the description below to take a look at. With that, I will turn it over to Heather.
Super. Thank you, Scott. And hello, everyone. We did want to make sure that you were aware of the recent publication of an emergency rule by the Department of Revenue. So if you go back in your Wayback Machine to this past summer, Governor Evers had signed the budget into the law, and a provision within the budget provided for a tax exemption for certain income to be excluded for our state chartered banks as it related to commercial and ag purpose loans. And within the budget, there was a clarification to that law, which Scott just mentioned on the previous slide. And now there's been an emergency rule issued related to that tax exemption to help provide definitions and some context around what both the state law budget was and the more current state law revisions that Scott just mentioned. So we have a link to that actual emergency rule. If you look to the March Compliance Journal, we've outlined that rule for you as well. The rule was effective upon being published, so it's effective as of right now. And DOR will continue to promulgate its rule, making it permanent as we go forward in time. DOR also issued a series of common questions on their websites, and we have provided you a link to that website location. And we here at the WBA, we have our own set of FAQs. If you need a copy of that, feel free to reach out to Scott or myself, and we can get the WBA FAQ over to you on this tax provision, helpful for our banks. We also wanted to make sure on the next slide that we shared with you some recent releases by the Federal Housing Administration, FHA, regarding two different loan programs. So one relates to their Title I manufactured home program, where they actually increased the loan limits for their various loan programs. Pretty important because it's the first time it's been increased since 2008. And they've also changed their methodology for how they're calculating the loan program limits. So in the middle of the slide there, you'll see that we have a range for what the lowest and the highest loan amount is for 4 different programs, and then also what the lot loan dollar amount limit is. But when you link to the announcement that we made available for you, you can see the breakdown for each loan program and what those new loan limits will be for that manufactured home program. We also wanted to make sure that you were aware that they have a new mitigation program for them, and that mitigation program is called the Payment Supplement. It is a way to help those FHA-insured single-family forward mortgage customers that have actually a really low interest rate. And previously, they weren't able to take advantage of the mitigation programs because of how low the interest rate was. Now they can. We've got there for you what the program would provide for, as well as the beginning and ending date. So the program becomes effective or available May 1, and it needs to be in place by January 1st of 2025. So if you need more information about that, that's also included in your materials linked below. Then just 2 other brief things that we wanted to make sure that you were aware of. Scott mentioned at the top of the video, the FinCEN has a new administrative ruling that's been released, and we have the citation for you and the link provided for you. And for the bankers on the call, I think there'll be no surprises about how CIP and the customer due diligence rules will apply when beneficiaries are taking their IRA distribution because the account holder has died. This particular ruling is in the broker-dealer setting, and it reaffirms that, yes, we need to apply CIP and customer due diligence rules to our beneficiaries of an IRA account when the beneficiary takes that interest. So just want to make sure you knew about it, but no surprises there to us bankers. And then, as also Scott mentioned, the 2023 data for the HMDA modified LAR is available through the FFIEC website, and we have that link for you as well attached with the video. So Scott, back to you.
All right. So thank you, everyone. With that, we will wrap up our March session of the WBA Compliance Corner. But as always, we just want to remind you of the resources that we have available on the WBA website. Don't forget to check out the updated resources, the tools, the toolkits, the FAQs, and other publications, as well as training opportunities if you're looking for in-house training, either in person or virtually. And of course, the compliance hotline, where you can call or email in with any compliance questions that you have. So with that, we will wrap it up and we will see you next month. Thanks, everyone.